Good day, loves. Paul here. In today's installment of How to Draw, we are going to learn how to draw Lee Harvey Oswald. I'm going to show you the image that I'm going to be basing my sketch on today. These are kind of nice headshots. I rather like both expressions, don't you? Okay, the first thing I'm doing here is I'm just gently sketching out where I want my Lee to be. I'm plotting some coordinates here, his ears, where roughly his hair is going to fall. I'm using a peach-colored Prismacolor pencil, not to be mentioning brand names or anything. And I'm just figuring out where his ears are going to be, where his eyes are going to be, bottom of his chin, and so on. And we'll get to the rest later. Now let's go and start filling them in. Okay, I'm using a fine-tip Sharpie here, and I'm just starting with Lee's eyebrows. He has rather interesting eyebrows. Rather heavily hooded, very heavily lashed eyes. Now I'm doing his eyeball, but I'm leaving that little dot of white in there. It's going to act as a highlight. We'll sort of bring him to life. Now, he had some sort of interesting arches going on with his brows. And again, another heavily shaded, sort of hooded eyelash there, and an eyeball. We're going to try and have him look at you. We'll see. Again, leaving that little white spot there, so that little sparkle. Now, we're doing just kind of a shadow to indicate where Lee's schnoz is. When you draw a caricature, you don't always have to put every single little line in. Sometimes less is more. I will, however, just put a very light suggestion under his eye there, and just a very light, just very lightly using the point of the Sharpie to make a little frown line there. Now we're going to make Lee's mouth. Lee had a very interesting, distinctive mouth that a lot of people misinterpreted, I think, as a snide smirk, when in fact it was just how his little mouth was. Again here, no, he doesn't have a goatee going. That's just a harsh light coming from overhead, perhaps. Now we're going to suggest his temples. And let's just kind of do his hair a little bit. Now, caricatures typically exaggerate things. Caricatures, cartoons, are exaggerations. So we always make the hair, the head, the nose a little bigger than they really were. Right now I'm just sort of doing those loose strands, those thinning little strands that Lee had on his forehead. His hair appeared to be thinning. He's only 24, but he may as well be 34. We'll color that in a little bit more in a bit. A very severe part that he has on the right side. A sideburn. Alright, and there we've got the hair. You can see that's already grounding the face a little bit now that we get the hair in there. Now we do kind of a cartoon big ear with not a whole lot of detail in it, so it doesn't draw attention to itself. And I'm just doing kind of a suggestion of a jawline, a little bit of a stubbly dimple there around his mouth, and bringing out that chin of his. Again, a little bit of dots help with the stubble. Now we can see Lee beginning to take shape. I'm not necessarily going to draw this line here. You could, but I don't want it to look too much like a coloring book. I kind of like leaving it a little bit open to interpretation. The mind fills in the blanks. Now we're going to style his hair. Probably he used Brill cream or something back then. So we'll give it a little bit of sheen. He had somewhat of a rounded head, almost like a light bulb. Kind of a big head, because he was full of ideas. Nice little bit of a curl. Unfortunately, some of those pictures we see aren't too pleasant as far as the way his hair looks. But we're just going to take Lee. You hear that background music there? That's Lee's sort of happy-go-lucky music. We're just going to take a otherwise tragic sort of character and have a little bit of fun with him here, huh? Yeah. Okay, there. Now I'm going to just randomly put a few more little dots here, just here and there, to suggest beard stubble. Even if a guy is clean-shaven, we will see that. Okay, and there we've got Lee's face and head. Now, since he is a cartoon, he's going to have a little body, so we're going to give him a skinny little neck. Yeah, it looks kind of absurd, but little Adam's apple. He had a pronounced throat. Now I'm going to move down a little bit as I draw the rest of the body. And again, I'm just going to sketch it in lightly where I want things to fall before I draw them in. Then here we come back with our Sharpie. We're going to give him a little loose-fitting V-neck shirt today. Yeah. And cartoon bodies are small quite often. I don't know why. Maybe it makes them a little more endearing. And this will make sense too in a moment here. Right now, it's kind of abstract, but see, we've got small little shoulders. He's going to be waving his arm today, I think, to say hi. So, give him a little bit of a bicep, a little bit of a forearm, suggestion of a pectoral, suprasternal notch, a little bit of hair poking out of there. How about that? Now, since he's going to be waving, I'm going to give him a nice little bicep there. We don't know if Lee worked out, but he was in the Marines, so, and just a suggestion of a muscle. And we're going to carry his shirt on down. We're going to carry it on down, and on this side, I think we're going to have it untucked and just kind of relaxed casually on his waist. And we're going to have his hand in his pocket over here, so we're going to make that flare out a little bit. Maybe he's in slacks today. Okay, now give him maybe a little bit of a vein. Secondary sexual characteristics are always wise. A little bit of hair there, just for a little bit of realism. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do with those slacks. I'm going to take a thicker marker here, get out the big guns, and just kind of, again, you don't have to fill it all the way in. It's not like a coloring book. Just a little bit. It's easier to add than to subtract. Okay, now let's go back up and finish. Hey there, Lee. How are you doing? Okay, we're going to make a happy little waving Lee Oswald here. So I'm going to give him a little arm. There we go. And sometimes on cartoons they only give them 3 fingers because they didn't want to make them look too busy. But I think that's a little bit of bullshit, so we're just going to give him the usual 5 digits. And he's going to be just waving howdy there. There we go. We don't need to detail the fingers, though. Again, secondary sexual characteristics. Let's get that arm hair in there. That we know he had. So, there we go. We'll just make a little wiggle signal there, like he's saying howdy. There, now, if we want to really make that a little bit more interesting, give it a little bit of, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to give it a little bit of sunshine, some lollipops, and, yep, some rainbows. Kind of cute and good, kind of soften the effect that it is Lee Harvey Oswald. And you know what? I'm going to take a fun colored marker here. Just color that in, make that a nice cherry sucker. And we might as well just make it happy for this little guy, because he didn't have it so good. So if we can make it good for him, then so be it. And there he is. And so to all of you, sincerely, thank you for tuning in. So, until next time, bye-bye now.